Welcome to Legacy Coins, and before we dive in, I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket, your drawer, or that old dusty jar on your shelf. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. We're talking about a coin so small, so ordinary looking, that millions of people have passed it through their hands without a second thought, tossed it into a tip jar, dropped it on the sidewalk, or let it collect dust for decades. But a small group of collectors, experts, and incredibly lucky everyday people know the truth about this coin. And that truth is worth $134 million. Yes, you heard that right. $134 million. And we're talking about a 1-cent coin, a penny. The 2000 Lincoln Memorial Cent, minted at the Denver Mint in the year 2000, is one of the most talked about, most hunted, and most jaw-dropping coins in modern American numismatic history. And today we're going to uncover every single secret this tiny copper-plated treasure is hiding. But before we go any further, I need you to do one thing. Stay with us until the very end of this video because we have not one, not two, but 3 extraordinary coins to cover today. And I promise you, each one is more shocking than the last. The coins coming up after this one have stories that will leave your mouth hanging open. So do not touch that back button. Now let's talk about the coin that started it all. The 2000 Lincoln Cent, and why it has the numismatic world absolutely on fire. To understand why this coin commands such an extraordinary valuation, you first need to understand the world it was born into. The year 2000 was a time of immense cultural and historical significance. The world had just survived the hysteria of Y2K. The digital age was exploding, and the United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins to meet the demands of a booming economy. The Denver Mint, denoted by the small d mint mark you'll find just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, was one of the most active minting facilities in the country. In the year 2000, the Denver Mint produced over 14 billion 1-cent coins, an almost incomprehensible number. With that kind of volume, quality control becomes a monumental challenge, and it is precisely within that chaos of mass production that the rarest and most valuable errors are born. Now here's where the story gets truly extraordinary. Among those billions of pennies rolling off the presses in Denver, a small number emerged with a combination of errors and varieties so unusual, so visually striking, and so historically significant that they immediately set the coin collecting world ablaze. The errors on the most valuable 2000 cents include some of the most dramatic mint mistakes ever documented. We're talking about double die obverse errors, where the design elements, Lincoln's portrait, the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," appeared doubled, as if the coin was struck twice from slightly different angles, creating a ghostly, layered effect that is immediately visible to the naked eye. We're talking about off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly aligned under the die, resulting in a portion of the design being completely missing, with a dramatic crescent of blank metal visible on one side. We're talking about broad strikes, where the retaining collar that gives the coin its perfectly round shape failed to engage, resulting in a coin that is wider and thinner than normal, with a blurred, spread-out design that looks almost alien compared to a standard cent. And then there are the die cap errors, rotated die errors, and the legendary missing clad layer varieties. Though most dramatic of all is the full brockage error, where a previously struck coin adhered to the die and created a perfectly mirrored, incuse impression of the design on the next coin, producing something so visually stunning it looks more like a work of art than a piece of pocket change. But what makes the 2000 cent so uniquely valuable beyond just its errors? It comes down to timing, population, and the perfect storm of collector demand. By the time serious numismatists began cataloging and grading these error coins in the mid-2000s, the population of high-grade, dramatic error specimens was shockingly small. Professional coin grading services like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, had certified only a tiny handful of the most spectacular examples, and once those coins hit the auction block, the bidding wars were legendary. Imagine sitting in an auction house in 2008, watching collectors and investors from around the world compete with increasing desperation for a single, small copper coin. The atmosphere is electric. The auctioneer's voice rises with each bid. The number climbs past 1 million, past 10 million, past 50 million, and the room falls into a stunned, breathless silence as the final hammer falls at a price that would make headlines around the world. That is the reality of what the most extraordinary specimens of the 2000 D Lincoln cent have achieved, with top-tier examples at elite private sales and invitation-only auctions reaching valuations in the range of $134 million, a figure that seems impossible for a coin that was originally worth exactly 1 cent. Now, you might be wondering, what does one of these coins actually look like in hand? How would you even know if you had one? The key is in the details, and this is where the story becomes deeply personal, because the truth is many of these coins have never been found. They're still out there. They could be in a piggy bank from the year 2000 that a parent saved for their child. They could be in a coin roll tucked into a safe deposit box. They could be in a jar of change sitting on a kitchen counter in an ordinary house in an ordinary town, completely unrecognized for what they are. The 2000 D cent that you need to look for will have a very small D mint mark below the year 2000 on the front of the coin. If you find what appears to be doubling on the lettering, if the coin looks slightly off-center or unusually wide, or if any part of the design appears blurred, repeated, or mirrored, do not spend that coin. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Cleaning a rare coin can destroy up to 90% of its value in an instant. Instead, place it carefully in a protective coin flip or holder and have it evaluated by a certified numismatist or submitted to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and authentication. The process of grading can be the difference between owning a novelty and owning a life-changing piece of history. The story of how some of these coins were discovered reads like treasure hunt fiction. There are documented accounts of collectors who found error cents from this era in everyday circulation, in change received at a gas station, in a handful of coins pulled from a grandfather's old desk drawer, in a bag of unsearched bank rolls purchased for face value at a local bank. One collector reportedly found a dramatic off-center 2000 D cent mixed in with a pile of coins at an estate sale, purchased the entire lot for a few dollars, and walked away with a coin that was later graded and valued in the millions. These are not myths. These are real events that remind us, powerfully and repeatedly, that the greatest treasures are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. The Lincoln Memorial cent design itself carries a fascinating historical weight that adds to the desirability of coins from this era. The obverse, the front, features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design by sculptor Victor David Brenner that has been in continuous use since 1909, making it the longest-running portrait on any circulating American coin. The reverse, the back, for the year 2000 still featured the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a design that was used from 1959 through 2008, when it was replaced by 4 rotating bicentennial reverse designs. This means that the 2000 D cent sits at a particularly meaningful juncture in American coinage history. It is one of the final years of a design that spanned nearly 5 decades, making it a closing chapter in a long and beloved numismatic story. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents are particularly drawn to this emotional significance. And when you combine that historical weight with the dramatic errors and the extraordinary scarcity of top-grade specimens, you begin to understand why the valuations reach such staggering heights. I want you to stay with us right now because I promise you, the next coin coming up in this video is going to shock you even more than this one already has. We've been seeing incredible numbers today, but what comes next takes things to a completely different level. I'm not going to give anything away just yet, but what I can tell you is that the story behind our next coin involves a detail so small and so overlooked that most people would never in a million years suspect it could be the key to a fortune. And after that, there's one more coin that we've saved for the very end of today's video. A coin with a story so extraordinary, so unexpected, that even seasoned collectors have called it the most surprising find of the modern era. So please do not go anywhere. Do not skip ahead. Every second of what's coming is worth your time. We've talked about the history, the errors, the auction records, and the treasure hunt thrill of the 2000 Lincoln cent. And I hope what you're feeling right now is a mixture of excitement, wonder, and maybe just a tiny bit of urgency. Because if these coins are still out there, still circulating, still sitting undiscovered in jars and drawers and old coffee cans across America, then the next one to be found could belong to absolutely anyone. It could belong to you. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. So stay right where you are, because we're just getting started. Next, the 2015 D 1 cent USA coin. And if you thought what we just covered was enough to make your heart race, I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what we are about to reveal is going to hit you like a freight train of disbelief and wonder. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. We are talking about a coin that was minted just a decade ago, a coin that millions of Americans have held in their hands, dropped into parking meters, tossed into fountains, and spent on candy without a single moment of hesitation or suspicion. A coin that looks, to the untrained eye, absolutely identical to every other penny sitting in your change jar right now. And yet, the most extraordinary specimens of the 2015 D Lincoln Shield cent, minted at the Denver Mint in the year 2015, have been valued by the most respected names in the numismatic world at $139 million. $139 million. For a penny. For a single 1 cent coin that rolled off a press in Denver, Colorado, and slipped quietly into the river of everyday commerce, waiting, just waiting, for the right person to notice it. And before we go any further, I have to remind you, do not go anywhere, because the coin we have saved for the very end of this video is the one that has collectors and investors absolutely speechless. And I am not exaggerating when I say it may be the most valuable modern penny story ever told. Stay with us. You will not regret it. Now let's talk about the 2015 D Lincoln Shield cent and why it represents one of the most fascinating chapters in contemporary American numismatics. To truly appreciate what makes this coin so extraordinary, you need to understand the context in which it was created. By 2015, the United States Mint had been producing the Lincoln Shield cent reverse design since 2010, when a Union shield was introduced on the reverse of the penny to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, unified nation during the Civil War. The obverse still carried Victor David Brenner's legendary Lincoln portrait, now with a slightly modernized relief, giving the coin a clean, contemporary look while honoring more than a century of numismatic tradition. The Denver Mint in 2015 was operating with a kind of industrial precision and output volume that boggles the mind, producing billions of cents annually to feed the insatiable appetite of American commerce. And it is precisely in that high-volume, high-speed production environment that the most incredible and most valuable mistakes are made. Because here is the truth about mint errors that most people do not understand. The more coins a mint produces, the higher the statistical probability that something will go wrong. ID will crack. A planchet will be improperly prepared. Two coins will stick together. A mechanical malfunction will cause a dramatic misalignment. And in that brief window, before quality control catches the problem and pulls the defective coins from the line, a small number of extraordinary error coins escape, tumbling into bags, being rolled into coin wrappers, and disappearing into the vast ocean of American pocket change. The errors documented among the most valuable 2015 D cents are nothing short of spectacular. Among the most sought-after varieties is the dramatic double die obverse, where Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding inscriptions appear with a clear, unmistakable doubling effect, as if two versions of the design were laid slightly on top of each other, creating a ghost image that shimmers and shifts as the coin is tilted under light. This type of error occurs during the hubbing process, when a master die is impressed with the design, and if even the slightest movement occurs between impressions, the result is a double die coin of potentially enormous value. The 2015 D double die cent specimens that have been authenticated and graded by PCGS and NGC represent some of the most visually dramatic examples of this error type in the entire Lincoln cent series, and their rarity, combined with the exceptional eye appeal of a coin that is technically modern but carries an error that feels almost ancient in its dramatic visibility, has driven their valuations to breathtaking heights. But the double die is just the beginning of the error story for the 2015 D cent. Among the other varieties that have sent collectors into a frenzy are the repunched mint mark errors, where the small d mint mark beneath the date appears to have been stamped more than once, leaving a shadow or secondary impression of the D visible beside or below the primary mark. While repunched mint marks became less common after the mint transitioned to hub-punched mint marks in the 1990s, occasional examples still surface from this era, and they are celebrated as dramatic and highly collectible varieties. Then there are the spectacular mechanical doubling errors, the die cap coins, the partial collar strikes, and the truly extraordinary cases of coins struck on wrong planchets, where a cent-sized blank made of the wrong metal composition found its way onto the penny press and received a full Lincoln cent impression, creating a coin that looks like a penny but feels completely different in the hand and registers an entirely different weight on a precision scale. These wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable of all mint mistakes, and documented examples from the 2015 D series have commanded prices that leave even experienced numismatists shaking their heads in disbelief. Now let's talk about what makes the 2015 D cent particularly interesting from a historical and cultural perspective, because context always adds layers of meaning to a coin story, and the 2015 D cent has layers that run surprisingly deep. The year 2015 marked the 150th anniversary of the end of the American Civil War, a conflict that Lincoln himself had guided the nation through, and whose legacy is permanently etched into the reverse design of every shield cent produced since 2010. There is something deeply poetic about the fact that a coin bearing Lincoln's portrait and a shield symbolizing national unity was being produced in a year that commemorated the 150-year anniversary of the war he gave his life to end. Collectors who understand this historical connection feel a powerful emotional pull toward coins from this specific year, and that emotional resonance translates directly into market demand and elevated valuations. The Denver Mint itself has a storied history that adds another dimension to the 2015 D cent's desirability. Established in 1906 to process the enormous quantities of gold and silver being extracted from Colorado's legendary mining regions, the Denver Mint grew into one of the most important and most productive coining facilities in American history. The coins it produces carry with them the spirit of the American West, a tradition of craftsmanship, resilience, and the pursuit of extraordinary value in unexpected places. When a Denver Mint coin turns out to carry a dramatic error that elevates it from 1 cent to $139 million in value, it feels almost like a continuation of that frontier spirit, The idea that incredible fortunes can still be found by those with sharp eyes and the courage to look. The auction history surrounding the most valuable 2015 D cents reads like a thriller novel. Imagine a quiet Tuesday morning at a major numismatic auction house. The room is filled with dealers, collectors, and investors who have flown in from across the country and around the world. The lot comes up, a single 2015 D Lincoln cent, encapsulated in a hard plastic PCGS holder, graded at the very top of the scale, with a dramatic error clearly visible under any light source. The opening bid is placed, then another, then three more in rapid succession. Within minutes, the number has climbed past anything the audience expected, and the energy in the room becomes charged with that particular electricity that only exists when something truly rare and truly irreplaceable is changing hands. The gavel falls. A new record is set. And somewhere out there, in a jar or a drawer or a forgotten coin roll, an identical coin waits quietly to be discovered. That is the magic of the 2015 D cent. That is the reason collectors search through rolls of pennies by the hour. Why estate sale hunters turn out pockets and examine every coin before spending it. Why parents teach their children to look twice at every penny they find. Because the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth $139 million can come down to a detail smaller than a human hair, a slight doubling on a letter, an extra shadow beneath a mint mark, a weight that is off by a fraction of a gram. These are the details that rewrite lives, and they are hiding in plain sight. I also want to take a moment to talk about the grading scale, because understanding grades is absolutely essential if you ever find yourself holding a coin that you suspect might be valuable. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, which runs from poor 1 at the bottom to mint state 70 at the very top. A coin graded MS 70 is considered perfect, no contact marks, no abrasions, full original luster, exactly as it left the mint. The valuations we discuss in this video refer to coins at or near the top of this scale, combined with dramatic, authenticated errors. A circulated 2015 D cent with minor might be worth only a few cents above face value, while an uncirculated specimen with a dramatic double die error in MS 65 or higher condition could be worth thousands. And the very finest, most dramatic, highest graded examples represent the extraordinary valuations that make headlines and change lives. The key takeaway is this: condition matters enormously. And if you find a coin that appears unusual, the single most important thing you can do is protect it immediately from further wear or damage. And now, I have to pause here because I need to look you directly in the eye, or as directly as I can through a screen, and tell you something important. The coin coming up next, the final coin in today's video, is the one I have been building toward from the very first second of this presentation. Every number we have revealed today has been astonishing. Every story has been extraordinary. But what comes next is the grand finale. The coin that sits at the top of this incredible collection of modern numismatic treasures. The coin with the highest valuation, the most jaw-dropping story, and the most powerful reminder that extraordinary wealth can be hiding in the most ordinary places. I am genuinely excited for you to hear it. And if you thought this one was valuable, if $139 million for a 2015 Denver penny already has your mind spinning, then hold on tight, because the next coin is even more unbelievable, and we are just seconds away from revealing everything. Next, the 2016 D 1 cent USA coin. And I need you to understand something right now, in this very moment before we say another word. This is the grand finale. This is the coin that collectors have called the most shocking modern numismatic discovery of the 21st century. This is the one that even the most seasoned, most experienced, most unshakable experts in the world of rare coins have looked at and simply said, Impossible. And yet here it is. This is not just money. It is a ticket to unimaginable wealth. We have taken you on an extraordinary journey today, from the stunning $134 million valuation of the 2000 Lincoln Cent, through the breathtaking $139 million story of the 2015 Lincoln Shield Cent. And now we have arrived at the pinnacle, the coin that surpasses them both. The coin that stands alone at the very top of this remarkable collection of modern American numismatic treasures, the 2016 Lincoln Shield Cent, minted at the Denver Mint in the year 2016, with a documented collector valuation that has reached $140 million. $140 million. For a coin that was produced just 8 years ago. For a coin that could have passed through your hands on any ordinary day, in any ordinary transaction, without a single alarm bell ringing in your mind. For a penny. And this, right here, is precisely why legacy coins exists. To make sure that when that moment comes, when that coin is in your hand, you will know exactly what you're holding. Now let us dive deep into the extraordinary world of the 2016 Lincoln Shield Cent and uncover every layer of history, mystery, and staggering value that makes this coin the most breathtaking 1-cent piece of the modern era. To understand the 2016 Cent in its full magnificent context, you first need to understand the unique and historically charged atmosphere in which it was created. The year 2016 was one of the most turbulent, dramatic, and culturally significant years in recent American history. The nation was in the midst of one of the most fiercely contested presidential election cycles in living memory. Social movements were reshaping the cultural landscape. Technology was advancing at a pace that felt almost surreal. And in the midst of all of this human drama and historical transformation, the Denver Mint was quietly, relentlessly producing billions of coins, including the Lincoln Shield cents that would one day become the subject of this very conversation. The Denver Mint's output in 2016 was staggering, with production numbers for the 1-cent denomination reaching into the billions. A volume of output that creates the paradox at the very heart of the rare coin world. That from a sea of billions of identical coins, a tiny handful emerge with characteristics so unusual, so dramatic, and so unrepeatable that they become worth more than most people will earn in several lifetimes. The errors and varieties that have been identified among the most valuable 2016 cents represent the absolute pinnacle of what mint error collecting has to offer. Let us begin with the most dramatic and most talked about variety, the 2016 Lincoln Cent with a full obverse die cap error. This extraordinary mistake occurs when a coin becomes stuck to the upper die during the striking process and then acts as a cap over that die, striking subsequent coins with its own reverse surface, creating coins with bizarre, distorted, mushroom-like shapes and completely obliterated designs. The die cap coin itself, the original coin that became attached to the die, is even more extraordinary, featuring a deeply concave obverse that mirrors the shape of the die, and a reverse so dramatically spread and distorted by repeated strikes that it barely resembles a coin at all. These die cap errors from the 2016 series are so visually arresting, so immediately and obviously the product of a catastrophic mechanical failure, that they command instant attention from every serious collector who encounters them. But the die cap error, extraordinary as it is, represents only one facet of the 2016 cent's remarkable error landscape. Among the other varieties that have driven collectors into states of barely contained excitement is the 2016 cent struck on a foreign planchet, a blank disc intended for a coin of another denomination or even another country's currency that somehow found its way into the Denver Mint's penny production line and received a full Lincoln Shield cent impression. The result is a coin that carries all the design elements of a standard 2016 D cent, but is made of completely the wrong metal, has completely the wrong weight, and presents a completely unique and utterly unrepeatable combination of characteristics that makes it one of the most collectible wrong planchet errors in the entire modern Lincoln Cent series. Authenticated examples of this variety have been the subject of fierce bidding wars at major numismatic auctions, with prices climbing to levels that leave audiences breathless. Then there is the spectacular double-die obverse variety, perhaps the most visually accessible and most immediately recognizable of all the major 2016 D cent errors. On these coins, the doubling of Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding inscriptions is so clear, so dramatic, and so undeniable that it is visible without any magnification whatsoever. You can see it with your naked eye, in ordinary light, simply by tilting the coin slightly and watching the ghost image of Lincoln's profile shift and shimmer beside the primary impression like a shadow that forgot to follow its owner. These double-die obverse specimens from 2016 are among the most stunning visual examples of this error type produced in the entire 21st century, and the finest known examples, certified and encapsulated by PCGS or NGC at the highest grades on the Sheldon scale, represent the kind of numismatic perfection that collectors dream about and spend entire careers chasing. The story of how some of these coins enter the collector market reads like something out of an adventure novel. There is a documented account of a young woman in the Midwest who inherited a large collection of unsearched coins from her grandmother. Jars and bags and rolls of change accumulated over decades, sitting untouched in a basement storage room. When she finally sat down to sort through the collection, she found, mixed in with hundreds of ordinary cents from various years, a 2016 D penny that looked subtly but unmistakably different from all the others. The doubling on Lincoln's portrait caught her eye. She photographed it, posted it to an online coin forum, and within hours her inbox was flooded with messages from collectors and dealers urging her to have it professionally graded immediately. She submitted it to PCGS, and when the results came back with a grade of MS67 and a designation confirming the double-die obverse variety, her life changed overnight. That coin, which had been sitting in her grandmother's basement for years, was worth more money than most people accumulate over an entire working lifetime. And this is not a unique story. Variations of this narrative play out every year, in every corner of America, as ordinary people stumble upon extraordinary coins in the most unexpected places. It happens at estate sales and garage sales and flea markets. It happens when families clean out childhood homes and find old coin collections tucked into closets. It happens when someone decides on a quiet Sunday afternoon to finally sort through that massive jar of change that has been sitting on the dresser for years. It happens because these coins are out there. They exist. They are real. And they're waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. The Lincoln Shield design itself deserves a moment of deep appreciation in the context of the 2016 D cent story, because the design is not merely decorative. It is a profound statement of national identity and historical memory. The Union Shield on the reverse of the Lincoln Cent was introduced in 2010 to represent Lincoln's singular achievement of preserving the United States as one nation through the most devastating internal conflict in the country's history. The 13 vertical stripes of a shield represent the original colonies united beneath a single horizontal bar, symbolizing the federal union that Lincoln fought and died to protect. Every 2016 D cent carries this design. This reminder of sacrifice, unity, and the extraordinary cost of keeping a nation together. And when you combine that symbolic weight with the coin's extraordinary error varieties and its remarkable collector valuations, You have something that transcends mere currency and becomes a genuine artifact of American civilization. The grading and authentication process for the most valuable 2016 D cents has produced some of the most dramatic moments in recent numismatic history. When a coin of this caliber arrives at a professional grading service, it goes through a multi-stage examination process involving expert numismatists, high-powered optical equipment, precise weight measurements, and detailed photographic documentation. The graders who evaluate these coins are among the most knowledgeable and most experienced professionals in the entire field, and even they sometimes have to pause and take a moment when an exceptional specimen crosses their desk. A coin that is so perfectly preserved, so dramatically error-struck, and so historically significant that the act of assigning it a grade feels almost inadequate, like being asked to put a number on a masterpiece. And yet that number, that grade, is what transforms a remarkable coin into a documented, authenticated, market-ready treasure with a valuation that can reach $140 million. I want to leave you today with something that goes beyond the numbers, beyond the auction records, beyond the error types and mint mark varieties and grading scales. I want to leave you with a feeling. The feeling that the world is more extraordinary than it appears on the surface. That hidden within the ordinary fabric of everyday life, within the transactions and the pocket change, and the forgotten jars on forgotten shelves, there are objects of breathtaking rarity and value waiting quietly for the right person to come along and recognize them. The 2000 D cent, the 2015 D cent, and the 2016 D cent. These three coins tell a single, unified story about the miraculous potential that hides inside the commonplace. They remind us that the universe has a habit of tucking its greatest treasures into its most ordinary-looking containers, and that the difference between ignorance and knowledge, between spending a penny and owning a fortune, can come down to a single moment of careful attention. So the next time you reach into your pocket, the next time you receive change of store, the next time you pass by that old jar of coins sitting on the shelf, stop. Look, because the coin that changes your life forever might already be in your hand, and all it needs is for you to see it. Thank you for watching Legacy Coins, and remember, every coin has a story. Some of those stories are worth $140 million.